Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Tsoulianos, brought to you by his books, Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Gives you a great overview of all the different PEDs used in bodybuilding, cycles, side effects, doses. Of course, a sequel written last year, you need to know all this too, Training, Nutrition, and Supplementation in Bodybuilding, both available on Amazon.com. While you're on Amazon, just get my book too. You're already on Amazon, Real Bodybuilding. Now, all the way from Athens, Greece, please welcome Dr. George Tsoulianos. How are you, Doc?
Hi, Ron. What's up?
Not too much, man. Not too much. It's getting hot here. It feels like Greece. It's like in the 90s. I don't know what Celsius that is, like 30?
Really?
What's a hot day? A really hot day Celsius?
Well, I guess 35. I mean, approaching to 100.
Okay, yeah, we've had a couple of days close to that recently. So yeah.
Really, in Boston, it's really north up there. You know?
Yeah, we have our hot days. It's weird, and then it'll be like 55 degrees a couple of days later. It just, the weather goes up and down. But anyway, well, doctor, we got some great questions that came in over the last week. Yeah. Oh, so I'm going to get to the first one because vaccines. We haven't talked a lot about vaccines, and this is not political, guys. This is a medical question. Doctor, which vaccine is better for the younger age group? I'm 28. I've heard that Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca vaccines change the DNA, unlike other vaccines such as Pfizer and Moderna. Which one should I take to be completely safe in the long term?
Well, all vaccines are safe. Moderna and Pfizer are mRNA. That means there is no introduction of any adenovirus, meaning weakened virus, okay? Besides introduction of the old-fashioned vaccines like flu, for instance, contains the weakened virus that induces that kicks the immune response, but it's completely safe. It doesn't change your DNA. Now, in regards to mRNA, it's a smart vaccine that the mRNA is the messenger RNA that gives the information to the cell and actually to a special location in the cell called endoplasmatic reticulum, where the ribosomes are making the proteins, and actually they form an antenna, okay, that later will kick the antibodies. So it's indirect kick of the immune response. It's lesser the symptoms, okay. They're softer the symptoms, let's say. However, my aunt, my mother-in-law, she had 100-degree fever with Moderna. Oh, wow. Unlike my mother, that she's 80, my mother-in-law, my godmother is 75. So it's not something standard, you know. My mother had no significant side effects, just the spot over here, you know, the pain. Yeah. But her sister had the chills for one day and 100 degrees fever. Mm. I had just 90, 98, 99 myself after the second dose of Pfizer, but I trained perfectly well the day after, you know, no big deal. Now, about AstraZeneca, there is a claim that there is a higher tendency of some clotting, you know. Now, I would consider this to somebody who's a smoker, who's obese, and who abuses steroids, of course. Okay, either smoker and abusing steroids, because clotting is more likely to happen in those guys. But young people are completely healthy, you know. They're super healthy unless they don't, you know, they don't eat crap and smoke, of course. Right. And all vaccines are safe, you know, even in the long term. And I guess that it's way more risky to get the COVID if you're unlucky rather than getting the vaccine itself, which is 1,000 times weaker than the side effects than the COVID itself, you know, if you're unlucky with COVID, because 2% of those who got COVID, you know, were not lucky and died. Right.
Wow. So if you had to pick one vaccine for a young person,
well, I guess Pfizer, yeah, Moderna. Steve Blackman did the Moderna. He's a big advocate of vaccination, myself also, you know, and it's the only way to stop the virus, because medication is a step further. Some people are not ill, so they don't care about medication, you know. The point is to prevent this. Anyway, I would take them all, but if I had to pick up one, would be Pfizer and the Moderna. Okay. But if I had no choice and I wanted to rush, I would take everything. Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca. Yeah. Now, the Sputnik, the Russian, has not been approved by the European FDA, but many Russians took it, you know, even people from Turkey. Okay, I heard it's safe, but according to the FDA, it's kind of underground. Like, it's not pharma grade yet approved.
What was it called? Was it called Sputnik?
Sputnik, yes.
Like
Like
this?
the first satellite, yes.
That's what they named their vaccine?
Yes.
That's hilarious. Oh boy. Okay. Now back to drug cycle questions. We always get a bunch of those. Guy says, I will soon start a mini cycle composed of 150 milligrams of Testosterone, my TRT dose that I'm currently running, and I will add Masteron or Primo. I still have to decide which one to use. What would be the best ratio between the compounds mentioned above in order to improve performance, cosmetic looks, well-being, and sex drive? Should I up my test dose to 200 in order for the DHT derivatives not to plummet my test levels and estrogen too much? Please consider I'm a hyper responder. I do really well with low doses. Good for you, sir.
So I would say 200 milligrams of testosterone, 200 milligrams of Primo are the least dose you can try, okay? Primo, I guess it's more anabolic than Masteron itself. Masteron does aromatize, of course, testosterone aromatizes, but testosterone is more anabolic because also oesogenic environment leads to water retention, glycogen jacking, so nothing beats testosterone. So I guess testosterone Primo, all right, instead of Primo or Masteron. Now, if you don't want to use any anti-estrogenic, but 200 milligrams of testosterone don't aromatize seriously, of course. But I suggest people who don't want to take any aromatase inhibitor in high doses, so let's say half a gram of Masteron, half a gram of Primo, don't require any use of anastasol, for instance. So it's about what you want to do. So 200 test and Primo are fair enough.
If he was using Masteron instead of Primo, would it still be 200?
Yeah, both are DHT derivatives, synthetic DHT, so they boost free testosterone sex drive. But we consider even Primo is a weaker anabolic. I mean, it's considered to be a standard anabolic rather than Masteron that is not a purely anabolic agent. It's androgenic and estrogenic also, and does not aromatize. We substitute the testosterone prior to the contest. It's super cosmetic.
Okay. I gotta say this guy, he's very lucky because hyper responders have it made. You use less drugs, you spend less money,
I
less
guess
side effects.
it's up to the androgen receptors, I guess so.
Yeah, good for you, sir. Next one, vitamin B5. Could vitamin B5 at a dosage of 500 milligrams a day help reduce hematocrit levels? Are there other methods in order to keep hematocrit low on TRT or even a cycle?
Well, precautionally, you have to use aspirin or fish oil in order to deactivate the platelets and bladonate. All right. Now, grapefruit, has been shown to contain a compound like a substance like arginine that perhaps allegedly lowers hemoglobin. Losartan is a substance and a hypertensive drug that has been shown to have the side effect of anemia. So managing, erythrocytosis, I'll be using this for 1 year,
Yeah.
So taking losartan, maybe you will postpone your blood donation for a month, perhaps. Doesn't mean that it will not elevate. And theoretically, don't eat red meat or be a vegan, because hemoglobin is a protein, and also hemoglobin takes iron to be synthesized. All right, don't spike on large doses. Do microdosing if you are into cycle into replacement therapy. Hydrate a lot. Okay, but it's a fact because androgens fight anemia. So the flip side of the coin is high. Yeah.
That's I think you've mentioned a few times that's something you have to really be careful with is hematocrit, right?
Yes, I'm used to hematocrit over 50. People get panicked when they go to 50, but I'm used to that. But a crucial point is the number of platelets, because if they are kept down, there's less tendency for having an incidence of clotting. Also, homocysteine keeping low. Homocysteine has to do with deep venous thrombosis, stroke, heart attacks. So having low homocysteine is a crucial factor also that elevates with smoking and steroids.
Gotcha. Okay. Here's a good one. Just saw an interview of Danny Padilla. He was the original giant killer back in the late 70s, early 80s. He said he used just Deca on his cycles, one shot every week. Of course, he was really light, but still, what about estrogen on his body? Then afterwards, how do he restore his HTPA? Because Deca is very suppressive. Any comments on this subject?
Yeah, so is testosterone very suppressive.
Yeah.
I don't know if he followed afterwards, if he recovered, he followed the replacement therapy. I guess he was using testosterone as well, not just Deca. Come on.
He claims he was using just Deca.
Oh, come on. I think he was top 3 in the league. Is it serious? Just
Well,
Deca? Come on.
I much respect for the guy. I thought he had a fantastic physique, but he posted on Facebook a week or two ago that when he made his final competition comeback at Night of Champions, whatever it was, 2000, 2002, I don't know when it was, but he said he weighed 245 pounds. And there's just no way.
He was really short though.
He was 5'2". I believe he was
245. Come on.
When he was top 3 in the Olympia. I want to say he was probably like 180, 190 maybe. So yeah, unless it could have been somebody pretending to be him on Facebook, but if he really claims he was 245 pounds at 5'2", that would have been like big Rami size. You know what I mean? That much muscle. So yeah, I mean, I've never known any pro bodybuilder that just use Deca. Have you? No.
Come on. You know that they use Deca when they come off from drugs.
Well, I mean, but even then, we got the Deca Dick, and there's a lot of you don't want to use just Deca. There's a lot of reasons.
Come on, Ron. Rick Park was using Deca. Come on.
Only Deca?
I mean, I'm gonna say because it was an old drug from the 60s. Okay. So I guess yes, Larry Scott and those the first champions.
Because they didn't know any better. That was the very beginning of steroid use in bodybuilding.
Yeah, the other guy from the Navy was a wrestler with round muscles. Come on, was endomorph.
Endomorph.
Bill Pearl.
Oh, Bill Pearl. Oh, he was a wrestler?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he was a wrestler at the Navy. He had this round look of the Deca,
Oh, okay. Yeah, he had great shoulders, great arms, great chest. Yeah, Bill Pearl was really good. Okay, this is the question of the week. I always pick one to make the question of the week in the title. Are expired steroids safe to use? If yes, what would the safe time limit from the expiration date be? Good question.
Now, I've heard that unofficially 6 months are enough to have some, potency. Now, I have a friend in Toronto who's been using just pharma-grade stuff, but he had some Masteron from Greece that had been really expired, and he used them, and he told me they were pretty, the result was magnificent. And actually, he used the Provirum that was expired from Greece many years ago, and he checked his levels, and they were pretty well. And Jay Cutler told him that when it comes to pharma-grade drugs, it never expires.
Never. I mean, if they're in the glass and you kept them out of the heat and the light for, I've personally used stuff that's been expired for 2-3 years and it worked. Underground. And I've known, I haven't used a lot of pharma stuff in my life. I think, obviously pharma would be the best choice to go past the expiration date, but they're very conservative. When they put those expiration dates, they're very, very conservative, even though they know the product's still going to be potent for another year or two.
I guess there is a reason to put this label, to be the expiry date. Otherwise, you would leave it, I don't know, no certain date, but I think it perhaps it will lose some potency.
Yeah. Say it's 200 milligrams per milliliter. It's been expired for 2 years. Maybe it's 150 milligrams per milliliter at that point, Still better than nothing. You're not going to throw it in the trash.
Yeah, it's like underdose.
Okay. Which most underground stuff is anyway. So next one. What is the daily dose of niacin for elevating HDL, the good cholesterol?
Well, I was taking 100 milligrams with every meal. So let's say half a gram a day.
Okay. Fair enough. When it comes to oral steroids, what is healthier? A longer run using a low dosage or a shorter run using a high dose?
We said that before, and I guess the final result will be accumulative of how many milligrams could be used, Either blast for 1 month or cruise for 3 months at 1/3 of the dose, let's say.
But which one's safer?
Both, Ron, are not, because even mild dose in the long run will create some issues,
So they're both equally dangerous, really.
Yeah, but because in the end you have used the same amount, but in different approach, you know.
Yeah, you know, we talk about. I know guys who run Anadrol like 100 milligrams, 150 milligrams a day for a month. You know, a blast of like 4 weeks.
But this is a critical point, I guess, 30 days.
Yeah, but then there's other people who will do 50 milligrams of Anadrol a day for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. And at the end, you know, it's just, like you said, it's probably the same amount of damage on the liver when it's all said and done. Next question is about liver support. Oddly enough, what is best for liver support? Liv 52, NAC, or milk thistle?
Actually, it's glutathione.
Oh,
It's the best. Now, if you cannot find glutathione injectable, you have to find glutathione liposomal oral. Otherwise, you have to stack NAC with glutamine to form glutathione, you know. Now, I use all of them, you know, I suggest all of them. And you can add also alpha lipoic acid, which is very potent antioxidant. Okay.
Injectable glutathione is the absolute best thing for liver support.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I injected myself about 100 bottles.
Wow. Okay. It's just one more thing to inject, though. Here we go. What is the best? This is another great question. Man, this might be the question of the week. What is the best way to reset and refresh androgen receptors other than to stop blasting and to use clenbuterol? I heard another doctor say Clen refreshes the receptors on this channel. What's your point of view?
I think it's coming off. It's the only reasonable way, you know. Some others say use glutathione, but I don't find that, I mean, how to prove this. So coming off, yes, perhaps it will make the receptors, you know, become unblocked, you know, if they are customized and saturated. And that's why a beginner has way better gains than an advanced bodybuilder who's non-stop into the gear, you know. Of course, you reach your genetic potential, but there comes a time that when you have to increase your doses because the receptors no longer, it's like when I think George Farah told you that if you have a glass of water and you keep putting water and you spill it out, there's no assimilation of the rest of the drug, you know?
Right.
Doesn't mean what is better, it will be utilized.
Yeah,
you just have the side effects, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting because I see a lot of beginners using steroids. I go to a very big gym, so there's hundreds of members. And you can always tell the people that are just starting out on steroids because they just explode. They look so different so fast.
Yeah, they're the beginners, but doesn't mean that 2 grams, I've told you myself, 2 grams of test didn't give me the double strength with 1 gram of test. I just got the hypertension, the bloating, you know,
of course,
and the hematocrit and all that shit, you know, that comes out of testosterone and the anger and the, you know, the acne, all that bullshit, you know.
The bad stuff.
So if you train seriously, you sleep and you eat well, you can have fantastic results with half of the doses and still remain healthier.
This clenbuterol thing refreshing receptors, is there any truth to that? I've never even heard that.
No, but we know that saturation of clenbuterol receptors, the androgenic receptors come with ketotifen, xanthine.
Okay.
So you may use for longer periods of clenbuterol, but this is a risk also because clenbuterol can kill you in a heartbeat, in the stroke and a heart attack. So it's better to use 2 days and 2 days stop it instead of taking non-stop with ketotifen in order to not to get assimilate, not to get used to the doses, you know, and to the receptors to be open up.
All right. Our final question: what is the main difference between Provirum and Masteron?
Yeah, I looked it up. I'm not a chemist, of course. I looked it up to the anabolics, and the chemical structure is pretty similar. Both are synthetic DHT, and actually, this Provirum is not DHT itself, but it's synthetic form of DHT as also Masteron. But of course, one is oral, the other is injectable, and I guess the availability of the injectable is way better. Okay, and it's considered slightly more anabolic, I guess, the Masteron rather than taking Provirum, which is better to harden up your physique and to have slight estrogenic, but it's not anabolic, you know, it's deactivating the skeletal muscle, the Provirum, you know, so it doesn't have any serious anabolic effects. You just take it to look harder and leaner, you know, and have a better erection, you know.
Yeah. I mean, no one's taking Masteron by itself. You're probably stacking it with test and God
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
what else. Yeah.
Oh, you remove test and put Masteron, you know, the final week with Tren and the orals, you know.
You're not trying to grow muscle the last week, and you shouldn't be anyway. I know
Oh,
some,
yeah, sure.
I know some people who think they're putting muscle on up until they get on stage, but no, you're not. Trust me, you're not.
You preserve muscle. Yes.
You're delusional. Well, doctor, another great show. I want you guys to check out the doctor's website, gtoul.com. Great articles there in Greek, English. His book now is available in English, Greek, and Italian. More languages to follow, I'm sure. Get those on Amazon.com. Follow him on Instagram at Dr. George Souliatos. And if you have questions, guys, leave them under here in the comments. Please, if you like the videos, like them, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you know when we get new videos.
I want to tell that I was invited to the national radio. Let's say how you call it.
Like we have National Public Radio in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. The National Public Radio. And I was told not to speak about creatine among the supplements.
Creatine.
So, as Colin said, is it a steroid?
God, they probably think it is.
We spoke about doping basically, but they didn't want me to give the message that doping, in case of, chemical enhancement out of the sports, okay, recreational users, can be used safely under minimal doses, of course, under prevention rules. So they told me you're going to give a wrong message. And I told them I'm more responsible for the message they're going to take. I'm saying something else, and people should realize what I'm telling, not to get something different, you know?
Yeah.
But actually, out of ignorance comes the fear, you know? And they told me, for instance, don't speak about creatine, or don't say that steroids can be potentially safe. So fear mongering, you know? Did you
do the interview?
I did it, of course, but I was really frustrated because I was forced not to tell some things, you know? And I tell them in the States, I'm saying something different, you know, of the approval. And this is why I write to the MD in my show also, and whenever I'm hosted, you know. So they thought I was Dr. Dope, which is something wrong, of course, because what I care about is mainly health, okay? Yeah. Not how to dope itself, you know?
Right. I mean, we've been doing this show a long time now, and you don't tell people, go out and use steroids, they're safe, you know? You always discuss the risk. There's a risk to everything, and you always let people know that.
Mainly you should inform, you know, educate, and let the adults do whatever they want, they decide.
You let people smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol and drive cars.
I'll give you a perfect example that Rick Collins told me.
Yeah.
You know, we have a heroin addicts, okay, narcotic.
Yeah.
These people are sick. They're mentally sick, okay? Right. So the state provides them clean syringes in order not to transmit HIV and hepatitis.
Right.
So on that case, the state and the government acts precautiously against the transmission of those diseases, even though they are using heroin.
Right.
So what about steroids? We inform how to use them safer, unless they don't break the law. So use steroids, let's say, from the pharmacy instead of underground. But it's the same case, you know, so hypocritical.
I've had this conversation with Rick Collins and Dr. O'Connor many times. There's just a stigma with steroid use because it's used to make you look and feel better.
I help them how to cheat. Oh, come on. How to cheat death, perhaps.
Right. I can't believe these people in the radio. Oh, jerks.
Journalists know they're not informed, and they want to pick up every subject they like.
That's fine that they're not informed, but they can't tell you how to answer questions.
They don't do a research first. For instance, what is a supplement? What is a steroid, you know?
Of course, they think creatine's a steroid. Anyway, well, doctor, another great show. Appreciate it very much, guys. We have an amazing opportunity every week. You get to ask questions about performance-enhancing drugs and other things with a medical professional, an MD, who is also a national bodybuilding champion. There's not many of those guys in this world today. So we thank you so much, doctor. Thank you so much. And that's it. Thanks for watching Ask Dr. Testosterone. We will see you next time.